All right, well, how would you feel if details on every phone call you make, every website you visit and every email you send was kept by your provider and accessible to the government and police? It sounds like something that would happen in a police state, but it's one of many proposals the government is looking into as part of national security reforms. Now, in a moment, I'll be speaking with the Privacy Commissioner on the associated risks, but first, here's Danny Isdale.
Secrets are harder to keep, weaved into the web.
We're no longer just dealing with guards and gates, bombs and bullets.
All useless defences in cyberspace.
We're now fairly and squarely also working in an online environment.
One which the Attorney-General now says can't be a safe haven for crooks and a no-go zone for police.
Many investigations require law enforcement to build a picture of criminal activity over a period of time, and without data retention, this capability will be lost.
That's why she's considering a proposal to require telecommunications companies and internet providers to keep all customer phone data and web histories logged and stored for up to 2 years, so police can track the activity of criminals.
That means we're extending from looking at 1% of the population to 100% of the population when 99% haven't done anything wrong.
Phil Kernick is an information security consultant. He believes the expense of data retention wouldn't be absorbed by telcos.
And they're not a charity, and the government isn't proposing to pay for it either, so they're simply going to cost us more for the government to collect information about us.
Civil libertarians say our information should be just that, ours.
These proposals are going to turn society into a surveillance society.
Suspects certainly live in the online world, but ordinary citizens do too.
What would this mean, do you fear, for anybody that has a phone account or uses the internet?
What I fear is that people who use a phone service or an internet service, their supplier becomes a covert data collection agency for the government.
The government has no interest in seeing the content of each and every email that people send or the websites that they might access.
Unless those people are criminals, caught at what cost?
Joining me now from Melbourne is Acting Victorian Privacy Commissioner Anthony Bendall. Mr Bendall, thanks for your time. Federal police say these powers would not only prevent crimes but also help to solve them. Why should our right to privacy be more important than national security?
Well, I mean, clearly privacy is not an absolute right. So even under the current laws, there are situations where national security, law enforcement, other interests trump privacy. Basically, though, where that's going to happen, the case needs to be made that it's necessary and it's proportional to the risk. So basically, our concerns about these proposals is that it's such a massive intrusion of privacy, recording everybody's data that they use on any electronic device and storing it for 2 years. I'm not convinced that, in fact, that massive intrusion is necessary in order to fulfil the law enforcement functions that have been talked about. What
about the mantra, though, that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about?
Well, if that was taken to the nth degree, we'd actually have no curtains on our houses and we'd walk around naked, basically. I mean, it isn't true that we only care about our privacy and we only care about having a zone of control of our information and of our person when we have something to hide. There have been societies in the past where people thought they had nothing to hide, very liberal democracies like Weimar Germany and Cambodia before Pol Pot, where what were quite neutral, benign pieces of information about people were then used to persecute them very harshly and in some instances to kill them. So there are historical precedents that show that really you may think you have nothing to hide at the moment, but things can change.
Anthony, exactly what will change here, though? Surely intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, if they want this information now, they could get it.
Well, they could, but I mean, basically the premise now is that they get access having formed a reasonable suspicion that there's a reason to get access to someone's particular information. The assumption this proposal has is that they should have potential access to everybody's information and that everybody is potentially a criminal or a tax cheat. And that's the concern, that really it's such a massive intrusion into the privacy of every Australian when most people are law-abiding and don't have any reason to have their privacy invaded.
Now, these data stores would obviously become extraordinarily extraordinarily valuable. What sort of safeguards would be in place to guard against, say, hackers or even corrupt public servants?
Well, that's not clear either at the moment. All the privacy legislation demands is that people who hold these data stores take reasonable steps. And there's been a number of celebrated cases over the recent months where hackers have successfully breached large corporate holdings. Sony and a number of other corporations have lost millions of records, including credit card details and those sorts of things. And even the security agencies can't guarantee security of data because even today the FBI was itself hacked and up to 1 million records were compromised. The FBI aren't effectively secure this kind of data. It's a bit rich to think that ISPs, including quite small runners ISPs, are going to be able to.
Some big issues to be thrashed out yet. Anthony Bendall, Acting Victorian Privacy Commissioner, thanks for your time.
Thank you.